Hello and welcome back, ladies and gents. It's the final week here at Pro League, and of course, the final video for myself and Scriv on the topic as we have the playoffs beginning at the time of recording tomorrow, right? So it's all happening. It's all been pretty lights out, right? The very few breaks in Pro League, it's kind of non-stop Counter-Strike action. So we are back for some more. Scriv, before we get into all the action, how have you found Pro League so far? We've just wrapped up our second week of the B stream. How's it been?
Yeah, good man. It's been a lot of fun. I think really excited to see how things pan out. We've had some pretty cool storylines coming into things. A few teams that I think are unexpected, and yeah, all the Counter Strike going on, and even into the playoffs as well. It feels like this playoffs is a little deeper than it usually would be. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? Like more teams than usual. A few skipping spots and stuff. So kind of tension being added there to see how they'll
true.
perform, if they're going to be on that ramp up, or maybe you get teams like G2 and FaZe that are a little bit further down in the bracket, warming up and heating up, as it were. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. But from a casting perspective, been a lot of fun, and it's really great to get in on events like this and all these teams
Yeah.
that you watch and all the players that you want to cast one day. You know what I mean? When you've been doing it for a while,
Yeah,
there's a few
exactly.
in there that you want to make your mark with. You know what I mean? But what about you, mate? How you been finding it?
It's been good. It's been a lot of fun, right? We've had some really good games, some stinkers at the same time, which are actually quite funny at a pro league level.
Sure.
You've seen some real wacky moments of Counter Strike for kind of the wrong reasons, which is at times quite funny. But we've had some really good ones as well. So I think now it's set ourselves up for what is going to be a very fun pro league. We've got one day of pro league, so we'll be on the Wednesday on the B stream. I think it's Lucy and Brandon on Tuesday, so tomorrow as
Yes.
the
Yeah.
time of recording. So yeah, should be very good. Should be very fun. We're looking forward to Wednesday. We don't know what games we've got yet, but of course, you'll basically see it on Twitter when we find out. Take a look at who's been eliminated so far. I think that's probably where we can start things off. Look at some of the teams that are no longer with us, so to say. Some probably a little bit more surprising than others. I think it's probably the right way to go about it. Elimination very quickly for the two Brazilian teams. Imperial and Sharks didn't do all too well. I think Falcons going out where they did was probably maybe a little bit more surprising than many people would have expected because just of the caliber of the names on Falcons. And for me personally, Eternal Fire as well in that same group, the 21 to 28th, right? That's where, even having teams like Enters maybe a question mark because the Kato run, Heroic have looked okay recently, but they didn't do that great. But the real surprises, well, the real one surprise for me is Eternal Fire. I really thought they would make playoffs, kind of guaranteed. Falcons, fair enough. They've actually been pretty rough for a while now. It's just like an old team, and they don't have a hero rifler as much as the Pre's trying. So yeah, not been a good tournament for some of the bigger names, Enteroic, Turn of Fire, Falcons, and then maybe even want to make the argument about Fury as well. But I think Fury have been shit for a while, and Kai isn't very good, unfortunately. The youngster, he isn't standing. I don't think. I very much doubt he's going to stay with this team. It's only a kind of a temporary solution. But yeah, some big names gone already.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, yeah, in terms of like names, I can agree, right? Where like organizations, things like this. There's really only a couple in here that surprised me not making it through to playoffs, though, if that makes sense. Sure,
Yeah,
Falcons did well at Kato. Seeing now that that's maybe more of a flash in the pan, to be honest, the months
yeah,
um after that have been really, really dire. But for me, it's like, yeah, you've got Nip, and maybe you've got an Ents, arguably, again, Kato doing well for them, but not really able to tap into that success. And I think for them, it's actually a
yeah.
fairer argument to say that we might not see them find that kind of level again, because obviously they had the sort of home crowd advantage seem to really, really work in the heads of those players, and
Agreed.
these are a
Yeah.
very mental team. But yeah, Heroics maybe up there towards the top. I would have expected them to go a little bit deeper, to be honest. They've been showing us some good things, but there's a few players here or there. Nikadoz is one that stands out, and he's been vocal about that himself,
Mm.
as not really being up to par. Eternal Fire, maybe. Tough group for them, wasn't it? It was a pretty tough group,
Yeah.
actually. So that's kind of one of the arguments, NIP organization wise, Furia organization wise, but in terms of the teams that we're seeing at the moment, the form that they have, not massive surprises. And to be fair to them, getting close, I suppose, but not quite over the line. Still, as we just mentioned, quite a deep playoff here, with a lot of teams, and you can skip spots and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, it feels like you have more room if you are a Furia and an NIP to kind of squeak in there. And when you've got like Bet Boom here, Gamer Legion, who have the same sort of excuses, influx, adding new players,
Yeah,
Monty, for God's sake, like, maybe
true.
the excuses aren't really as solid. You could say, yeah,
Yep.
for a IEM, for an IEM, maybe it makes a bit more sense, but unfortunately at Pro League, the same arguments have less weight to them.
I think it's basically when you think about the teams that have made it there over the teams that aren't there, for me is the big one. You look at your Bet Boom, who for me have really looked woeful for kind of a
Oh yeah,
while, but somehow are there. You've got Monty, like you already mentioned. They got two new guys coming in, the two academy guys, Gizmy and Ryu, who, they've both looked a little rough. But obviously, you kind of expect that stepping up into towards tier one. 3D Max, even that was a surprise. I think they were through Group A, and fair play to them. They actually did pretty well, in all fairness. But yeah, I think that's the big thing for me. Also there was the rumors coming through. The rumor mill started churning quite heavily at Pro League. We had apparently NIP inquired or have bought Isaac from
yeah,
Gamer Legion, so that'll be interesting if that does happen. And then also on top of that as well, probably one of the more notable ones was Heroic minus Nikodos plus Dexter is one of the rumors that the Twitter leakers were loving. I think I saw Overdrive put that one out. He's normally quite on it when it comes towards the CIS region, so should be interesting if that does happen. That's a big gamble, but Dexter's a great player when he gets going. He obviously is just more apparently he's
personality.
tough guy to work with.
Yeah,
I think probably the most important thing about that, if that is true, um, it's just the timing of it. It was midway through that group that Heroic got in. They obviously have been in flux, but if that is true and he didn't know that he was getting benched, and then you find out via a Twitter leaker, that can't be good for the mental. Kind of no wonder in a way things didn't go well. I think Heroic have been needing a change for a while. I don't actually really rate Nicholas that highly as an AWPer.
yeah.
So I think it's tough. It's a very peak time to find out. I think it really couldn't get any worse, right? And of course, they do then get eliminated. Um, but yeah, probably a necessity of a change, I would say.
Yeah, definitely, and it does feel like that would make sense if it does ring true, because obviously, as I've just mentioned, he's been a bit vocal. I think there is an article out there from Nikodos talking about his Pro League performance, and
Mm,
people commenting obviously on his lack of AWPing prowess. He's okay on the
yeah.
rifles, but AWP wise, he's just really not comfortable. So maybe, yeah, in terms of the press fair, he's sort of getting ahead of things a little bit if he is going to be removed. I don't know. It's a weird time. CS2 is still finding its feet. We're still post major, technically speaking, right?
True.
So I think that there is a lot of scope for moves. There's a lot of scope for changes in these organizations that, in a way, are going to have to take a few risks. They can't really just whack out the checkbook. So they have to pick up a few players that are proven to be good, but maybe weren't in the right teams.
Mm,
Or indeed, like a Dexter, have a few issues behind them. But I think, I don't know. I think there's definitely some changes coming.
mm.
Isaac to Nip, kind of interesting to me. I don't know how you feel about that one. It's not like he's the most incredible player, even on Gamer Legion. So,
Yeah.
it does feel he's Swedish. That's
I think
maybe
that's
about
it.
all
It's
he's
the
got going
Swedish
on, to
thing.
be honest. And maybe, is there a bit of crossover? Let me look this up. Is there maybe a little bit of crossover with him and Maxter at some point? Um,
I don't actually know. I feel like Max has only been on the scene a year and a bit.
yeah, not all that long, to be fair. I don't think so, because Isaac has been on Gamer Legion for a long time. Yeah, so it's just Young Ninjas and NIP
Mm.
for Maxter. So I don't really know. It's not like they're necessarily a full-on Swedish team anyway, but maybe that's part
Yeah.
of the angle that they're about
It,
to take. Don't know.
it's an interesting
Sus
purchase.
just got benched.
Yeah. Honestly, wild benching as well.
Yeah, a
I
little
know it's
bit.
not Pro League related, but his twin brothers on the
I
team,
know.
and
Yeah.
from the understanding that I saw from his tweet, it was a shock to Adam B, right? So weird. And he's actually been doing quite well in apparently a position that's not his usual position. So I don't know, weird, but they've also had a dip in form as well. So yeah, like you said, right? There's a couple of Swedish people around. There's a couple still in and around the fray. So who knows? Maybe NIP are going to try and make some sort of comeback. Nork's also now a free
I mean,
agent,
I
or not free
guess
agent. He's benched.
there's people around,
He ain't
but
going back though, is he? Nork's not going
no,
back.
no,
He's been
yeah,
pretty vocal saying fucking it for a while.
yeah.
But there is a Swedish team somewhere there if you want it. I don't think it's going to be the case.
It won't be any better than the current nip that we have. You
Yeah,
know,
and that's pretty shit as well. Let's
so
not beat around the bush here.
unless they're trying to, and to be fair, if you were going to do that, maybe you just pick apart Metasport as best you possibly can, like if you
Yeah,
want
I
to.
mean,
So I don't know. I don't
we'll
know.
see.
I think the Isaac move is interesting. Maybe they see
Mm,
something in him. Um, Still a good player. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah.
he's game of Legion level, tier 1.5, battling for tier
Mm,
1. It's not like he's going to be a 1-for-1
yeah.
move that upgrades your team massively.
Technically Swedish core though, because I forgot Rez obviously in that team, but he didn't play this
True.
tournament
Yeah.
because of
Yeah.
some infection. It was
Messes
ex
with Red.
Casper Sky, and that it's a rough tournament to kind of debut in. He just joined the Young Ninja side like a month ago,
Yeah.
and then he
Yeah.
goes straight
Yeah.
into the main team. He had a real tough time. But tier one is a big. He's like 17 years age or something insane. Either
Yeah.
way, let's get into playoffs. Let's have a
Sure.
look at the teams that we have got and the games. And we'll start making our predictions going through. We'll start right at the top, Big versus G2. For me, this isn't that much of a conversation. In all fairness, I think G2 should make that one look pretty comfortable. And yes, G2 have had their problems, but I think Bigs are bigger, for lack of a better word. This is a side who have been all over the place. Searson, I think, is, at least at the start of Pro League, was averaging a 0.98 rating since joining Big 2 months ago. He's not, he's struggling to even put up a 1 rating. It's been a tough time for the Orpa. He's not looked great. JDC has looked very good, I've got to say. And of course, Crimbo for me is one of, if not the best clutchers in the world. So they've got moments of that. Tabson also has moments as well. But I think that's where things really fall apart is the Orp battle. And of course, when he got Manesi on the other side, right? I think G2, that should be pretty simple.
Yeah, I mean, look, I feel JDC is looking good because they're giving him a lot of the favorable CT positions.
Mm,
Crimbo is a great T side player. So, I think that's maybe where their stats come from. They're about all that really stands out for this team. Tabson, unfortunately, we've lost the best of Tabson, as it were, at least on the mechanical and the individual performance and stuff like that. I think now what he's doing is sort of bringing players into the fray and improving them as players, and is a bit more of a captain, a bit more of a mentor. Also, as well, I was just sort of looking over the results here. They've not had the deepest or hardest run in the world. They come up against Na'Vi, take a map there. We'll see, because actually, I have to give that argument across the G2 as well. Falcons is maybe the only challenging team. They lost to the Mongols. They lost to M80 once. It's a nice bounce back from them in the group stage there, but still not the best looking G2 coming into this Pro League, I will say. There's some interesting crossover. They both banned Mirage. Anubis, however, seems to be the map that Big are liking recently. Anubis and Ancient, both really good maps for G2. So, I don't know. I think that they'll be able to put up a fight. I can see it going 3. G2 should win it on paper, but they've both been tested. Big look a little better in some of those tests, and G2 a really poor start. They were on the line. They were on the wire of getting knocked out in 3. So
It's true. It's true.
it's
I don't rate
difficult
G2
to call.
that highly, but I just rate them higher than Big. That's kind of where I'm leaning there.
It's not controversial.
I think it's yeah. I think we'll give that one. Game Legion VP. This one again actually feels really easy for me as well. I think VP shouldn't have an issue. I actually love Slend and Andu on this team.
Yeah.
I had my reservations about Andu, not as a player. I know mechanically he's so good, and he always has been, right? I think he's actually somebody. When I think we got to cast him pretty early on, and Andu is mechanically very, very gifted. It's actually the only thing that worried me was actually how he would slot into his roles at tier 1. Just because they're a little more difficult. It's a little bit easier to be exposed, but he hasn't. He's looked very, very solid. He's looked for me really, really good. He doesn't look like he's lost any sort of confidence at all in his ability. So I like it. However, I do actually, despite the troubles they had to start off Pro League, I do actually really like this VP team. I just think Electronics a direct upgrade. But it's Flit and Fame for me. It's hard not to love those two. When they get going, they're so good to watch. Flit especially is just an absolute weapon when he gets going. Norbert, still an absolute stud of a rifler. I think this guy looks considerably more confident now.
Hilarious.
I love it. He's just like, Norbert's just back out of nowhere, and he's like so confident to take fights, so reliable as well. So I think VP should be able to clean house on that. They've got a couple of maps under their belt now, which they can. And Overpass is still in the pool for playoffs, so they've still got the real crutch under their belt.
It's true.
So
It's true.
yeah, I don't know. I think Game Legion are a real weird spot where yes, the team's looking good, but obviously they're going through changes. The rumor is they're bringing in Flammers from Amiga. I don't hate that. I think Flammers actually a pretty talented rifler, but it's obviously, if that is true and Isaac knows he's on the chopping block, is he gonna like care? You know what I mean? It's quite hard to care when you know you're getting kicked.
This is the thing as well with those like rumor mill type guys with the leakers. Like even if it isn't true, it maybe just gets into your head a little bit. Like, is there something going
where's
on?
this coming
I
from?
don't know.
However, can I just say, I think it's Harumi was the one who said about that thing. He has said minus. I actually saw someone post this. He said minus Isaac 3 times in 2024 alone,
really?
and all 3 times it's been wrong. So, I mean,
that's
obviously
like once a month.
I know, but yeah, exactly. Yeah, like it's kind of crazy. You know, I think this is like his 4th time now saying minus Isaac. So the previous 3 are wrong. Not that I think this one is wrong, because judging by the reaction I got when I tweeted about it, it seemed very much like it might be quite true. At least it's come from somewhere else as well. But let's just say Harumi's track record is less than perfect, and by less than perfect, I mean I don't think he's even hitting a quarter of them. I think 20% might be generous on what's correct. But I think in this case, if it is true, like you said, it can just get in your head. Even if it isn't true, it can just get in your head. So
yeah, well, yeah. So we'll see on that kind of thing. Could be a bit of a weird one. I don't know, man. I feel VP obviously look good. I think Gamer Legion could potentially do it here.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, their newer additions are pretty hot for me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They're a team. They have a good rivalry. Obviously Ash made that video that everyone's seen.
True.
So I'm not sure. I think it could be very interesting here. VP have looked a bit vulnerable. And again, not the hardest group, not the hardest run. So
That's wild.
yeah, I'm definitely curious. I'm reiterating a lot of what you're saying. I like the new guys on Gamer Legion, Electronic, 1-for-1 change up. Norbert got to be one of my favorite overpass players to watch. I hope we get that in this series, because I think it's going to be straight fire after Ash's video on, you know, how we got in their heads and stuff like that. It was only 1 round, but still, I think it could be an absolute banger map. And it depends. I think obviously, like I say, a good amount of experience against each other here. I feel like they got to change it up a little bit. We might get a funky veto. We might see the Anubis or the Inferno come out. I feel like, did they play? No. Okay. Did they play Inferno? I feel like one of the maps came out. No. Okay. I guess not. Those 2 maps they are awful on. So fair enough. Yeah. I don't know. Maybe they do have to have something in the back pocket here, but again, I think it could go 3. But VP should be pretty solid. They've also hilariously just gone up a world ranking while we've been doing this, because they've literally just released this week's ranking.
There we go.
So
there we go.
Yeah, that was a bit
weird. But
yeah,
I think that one should be at least one of the better games coming in towards the slightly more even games. I think in the opening round. This next one is I'd probably say the worst game in terms of like the 2 teams, so to say. In terms of, you know, Bet Boom have looked, I don't know, for me, I just think they're so all over the place. I do think they get maybe a little bit of a land buff, to a degree, it seems, but I don't rate Bet Boom that highly. I think there's probably another change needed for them. But I don't really know where you get it. But I think FlyQuest should take this pretty comfortably. In's second highest rated player so far at Pro League, like a 1.31 he's averaged. He's loving life. FlyQuest also need a change, but kind of can't make one. I think Alistair probably he's been up and down in terms of his performances, but it's tough to get an AWPer. Obviously, out in the region, there really isn't that much of a talent pool or any sort of a talent pool. So it's tough, man. They're in a really rough spot. But Inns has been an animal.
Yeah.
Vexite's very good when he gets going as well. I actually think Dex is really facilitating himself quite well in terms of his numbers and actually been calling quite well. I mean, we got to catch one of their games and they looked pretty solid. So for me, I think FlyQuest take that in 2, and I think they should be pretty good. I mean, it's even good to see them just in a playoffs in general. I think it's FlyQuest side. They've always had the potential to do it, but they like kind of feel like it just avoids them. They get so close, but so far. I'm glad to see them make towards playoffs, and I think they should get a win here at Bet Boom relatively comfortably. But Bet Boom do cause upsets every now and again. They occasionally get a win out of nowhere, and then it kind of peters out and everybody forgets about them.
Well, I honestly think FlyQuest should win this, to be fair.
Yeah, same.
You know, like you're saying, In's playing very well. I just had a little double check there on my end. 6th highest rated player.
Okay.
of
So
the
the
event
highest
so
rate
far.
of the week. That was what it was. I was say
Yeah,
second highest of the week. Sorry.
yeah.
I saw them do a tweet and he was like number 2. So second highest of the week,
Just
6
the way that it's
overall. Pretty
fallen,
good.
But yeah, 6
Yeah.
overall for the entire event. That's everyone, all the groups, and all that sort of stuff. So,
It's pretty
and
solid.
again, the NIP win I think is fairly legit for them, at least in terms of the org. The heroic game, yeah, I do remember this being pretty close. So they very nearly take at least a map off of heroic, which I think is fair considering the ilk of players there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think could be a really, really solid way in for FlyQuest here to sort of prove themselves. I think one of the big things to mention here is the fact that they have Urcast behind them, and you
True.
can see already that that's making a big difference. We got a chance to speak to Dexter after one of the games, and he said that it was a little bit of me teaching him for a while, what with the European experience that he's got, but Urcast
Yeah.
is willing to put the work in, willing to learn, and improve the team as best he possibly can, and I think that is paying off. Just having an extra brain behind this team, again, something for the Oceania region is that they just struggle in that sense to have people who aren't just sort of hype men, aren't sort of managers more than they are coaches, right? And it's something that as players in North America started to retire a little bit, made a huge difference over there and what they were able to do on the international stage. So I think it's going to be the same here for FlyQuest to just have that extra bit. And it's times like now, right, when you've got 2 and 3 days off. Were they Group C or Group D? It sort of melded together. Okay, so they were Group D, right? So in reality, they've not had as much time off, but all the same, it might even back up my point even more. It's now chance for Urcast to come in on these off days, and maybe the team can practice things on the server, dry runs, sneaky little rounds, maybe work on a map that they're a bit weaker on, right? Fundamentals, team play, things like this. And then Urcast can go away and he can watch the Bet Boom games back and get the notes prepared that are ever popular at the moment. So that they are, and, give them a brief. Here's what they like to do. If you see this smoke comes out, it means that they're going to do this, whatever. So we'll see. The value of that really is underestimated, I think, by a lot of watchers of the game, especially sort of more casual viewers, like how important having those brains and having someone like Urcast behind this team can help them out. And funnily enough, it's something on the other side of things that Railway's pretty new to the coaching game, as far as I remember, right? He was mainly a player
not that long ago.
for a while, and he's only just joined them in March. So they're in a similar sort of space. It's not like Bet Boom from that kind of perspective have got a massive advantage over FlyQuest. So I think this could be a very fun matchup, actually. I know you touted it as maybe the one that's a little bit not as exciting teams-wise. Let's be real.
Yeah.
We don't want to see or don't expect these teams, like, we'd love to see them go deep, but we don't expect these teams to go deep.
Don't expect it. Yeah.
And the matchups are just not as ripe for an upset. But I really do like FlyQuest, and we got to see them a couple times. They look very, very good. So I think they could take this. It is just a case you've got this monster in Magnajez on the other side of things, or Mayonnaise, or however we're going with. And then Zorte on the AWP is just going to be able to put up a few more numbers than Alistair, unless something changes,
It's very true. Very true. Final one as well, FaZe Monty. I don't think it's that much of a conversation would be. I'm surprised Monty even here. This side, I think, is so average, Monty. I don't think this is the last change they've made with kind of the 2 academy guys coming in. I think they're still, yes, playoffs are actually pretty good for Monty. I don't think they're in that great of a spot, though. I think they probably need at least one more change from me before I'm comfortable about them where they're at. I just think losing SDY was such a big thing. And not having him has put them in a kind of a weird spot. So I think FaZe very comfortably make this a 2-0. I think probably of all the games, this is the one where I think it's probably going to be the most one-sided. When it, playoffs phase, especially off the back of what we saw Chengdu as well, I don't think it's going to be that much of a hiccup. I mean, group stage phase and playoffs phase are just a completely different beast. So, yeah, I don't know. Me personally, I think this is going to be a bit of a massacre. I don't even have too much to add to it. I just can't see Monty really even scratching the surface.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I would say that, you know, the only real legit victory for Monty is the Furia game. Just because, you know, they're a good side that should be able to beat Monty, but then that comes off the back of Demka going plus 27, you know, and having an absolutely insane series, and
Yeah.
you know, Yuri, especially on that Furia side, having an off series, having a dodgy series. Now you
Yeah.
got Kai. He doesn't help the situation, but I think he's had enough. We'll leave him alone for now. But you know, Furia should have won there. Monty, a good game from them to win that, but then they get reamed by Liquid, reamed by Ents. Fours playing with Smooyer, obviously, which is a weird situation, and you know, we'll not go into it, but there was some weirdness on social media with that guy, as to be expected. You know, I think you sort of know what you're in for. It's a bit of a shame, to be honest, because he actually played kind of well.
He was their best player,
Yeah,
like by a long
yeah,
distance. He's
but
just an idiot. I love him,
yeah, I
but
think
he's
so. You don't
like,
need to add
I
the
think, yeah,
question mark at the end.
I think he'll admit it. It was a stupid thing to do.
Sure, sure, but he
Yeah.
does that maybe a bit too much. To be honest. But also, Fours just had a little double check there. Tinier's on the way out. You know, he's like halfway benched and stuff. So the whole
Yeah.
team is in flux, and I think there's maybe only two of them sticking around. Is Nickelback even like a stand-in at the moment,
I think he
technically?
is a stand-in. Yeah.
So,
Basically, I think they're all a stand-in from my understanding. From what I
I mean,
read,
there's
this
no
is,
team listed. When you go on the team page, there's like no team listed other than the coach.
yeah. So from what I
So,
understand, I don't 100% know if it's true, but um, I'm pretty sure all but Shalfie is like not an actual part of the team.
well, it says here on HLTV even Chalfie's benched.
Right. This is the
So,
rumor I read is that they're rebuilding around Shalfie.
right. Oh,
It's
okay,
like
okay.
it's
Fair,
just
fair, fair.
him is what they were saying. Like it's a full Shalfie rebuild and Shalfie IGL is what I read. I don't know the legitimacy behind it. It's quite tough with the CIS region because they're not really as active on Twitter. A lot of it's through
Yeah, right,
Telegram,
right,
which
right.
obviously we don't use. But that's from what I've got. I don't take it as 100%. It's not. But that's just what I read. Is that Shalfie they're building back around him with him being IGL. Actually, probably sort of akin to what Jerry did for like 5 years, right? Just keep building around Jerry and let him cook basically.
And he did. He did quite
And
hard.
he did
There was a
for a
good number
while.
of teams in there, mate. There was a good number of
Yeah,
teams.
yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, nice to talk about Monty a little bit, but FaZe should dumpster this team. Let's be honest. I think, you know, there's going to be a couple players in here that even get a bit starstruck to be playing against FaZe and be in the playoffs and all that
Yeah.
sort of stuff. And maybe then the rest of the team's going to be like, okay, making it to playoffs, getting in a bit of prize money, that's quite nice. But I think they can be realistic with themselves. They're not going to get much deeper than this. I could
True.
see them maybe taking a map. To be fair,
That's ambitious.
we'll see where the
Can't.
veto ends up. We'll see where the veto ends
True.
up. But I think there's a
True.
couple maps in here that they could surprise us on.
I think the way to finish this off, since we don't know the teams who are making it through, obviously, because there's the playoffs round 1, round 2, then quarterfinals, semis, etc. The way we should do it is then I'll talk through who I think wins and how it pans out for the rest of the playoffs, and then you can do the same thing. This is like the brief thing. I won't go too much into the detail.
Yeah, that's
but
fine.
G2 beating Big is where I went. I think they'll also then beat 3D Max, and I think they'll lose to Mouse. VP beat Gamer Legion. Then they beat the Mongols. As much as I love the Mongols, I think VP will beat them as well. And then, you know, shoot me, but I think they'll also beat Complexity as well and make a Mouse versus VP semi. Then I think Mouse will win that, right? Over on the other side, FlyQuest beat BetBoom. Liquid beat FlyQuest. As much as I don't think Liquid are in a weird space, I actually think they just have enough where I think FlyQuest they just don't get that many like opportunities in playoffs. Where I think for Liquid, the majority of these players are at least playoff proven. So I think Liquid beat there, but then I think Astralis dumps the Liquid, is what I think. Then this lower bracket is actually just stacked. It's kind of wild. FaZe beat Monty. I think FaZe beat Na'Vi as well. And then I think Vitality beat FaZe. Actually, do I think that? I actually think maybe FaZe will beat Vitality. As much as I want to say Vitality, I always try and back Vitality as much as I can because I actually do really like the individuals. But
Yeah.
I actually think I'm going to back FaZe here just because of currently. I think that's probably the way to go about it. So yeah, FaZe beat Monty, FaZe beat Na'Vi, FaZe beat Vitality is how I'm gonna go with it. And then FaZe Astralis in the final. I think FaZe will win again because they have been winning recently. When it matters, i.e. playoffs
In the
change.
semi-final, you mean? And then the
Yeah, in the
final will
semi-final.
be
Yeah. And then the
Mal's
final will be
phase.
Mao's FaZe. And it's kind of funny that it is them again, and I think FaZe will do it again. So that's how I'm going with it. The only difference I'd probably make is that if it was Vitality who won, I'd actually say Astralis Maus in the final.
Right.
Because I think Astralis then beat Vitality. And then I then think Maus potentially win Pro League again, go back to back. That's probably
Okay.
the only other way I go about it.
Well, there's a few differences in my head with what you were saying, to be fair. So
Okay.
I'm top down G2 beat Big, G2 beat 3D Max, Miles beats G2.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense for a lot of people. VP beat Gamer Legion. Again, I want to say the Mongols because it'd be funny, and I'm here for it. If they do it,
Yeah.
let's get it. You know, Mongolia on top, but I think VP win that. I actually think Cole could beat VP, so
Okay.
I'll go soft Cole. I'll go 60% complexity.
Yeah.
I'm not super convinced, but I think it could happen.
Mhm.
Then I think Miles win that game. Miles complexity. Going FlyQuest to beat Bet Boom. Going Liquid to beat FlyQuest. I'm actually going to go Liquid to beat Astralis. I think that Astralis,
Okay.
I'm
Wow.
interested to see. They look very good, but I think that they might start to hit brick walls in playoff stages quite often.
Sure. Okay.
I think that might be a problem that really plagues this team, to be honest. Two sort of collections of players that have struggled there in the past. I mean, Device got over it, but, you know, the heroic
Yeah.
guys have not really gotten super deep, and then the rest of the team's filled out by youngsters. So, you know, I think that they will struggle a bit in the playoff stages.
Sure. Okay.
Then I'm going to go FaZe Monty. I'm actually going to go Na'Vi FaZe. Na'Vi to
Okay.
beat FaZe, sorry. Yeah, I think that Na'Vi, people are underestimating them. People are calling it a bit fluky. I think that a major win is, you know, one of the best things that a team can do for their near future. They've had Chengdu off, so this is a big event for them. This is a big preparation. FaZe, I think, honestly, as well, probably going to start to get a little bit burnt out. We do have, like, some of the biggest veterans in the scene. They'll be very much used to this, but still, I think that, you know, back-to-back-to-back events, they probably just want a couple weeks at home, you know? And they've not really had that. Then, this is where it gets a bit weird, doesn't it? You know, we've not got much to go off of here. I'd probably give it Na'Vi. I think I'm in a similar position to yourself, that Vitality, great individuals, but they're just missing the spark. Saying that, if it keeps up, you know, Zywu's just had one of the more insane stat lines that we've seen this year. Really incredible group stage from him. So maybe that keeps up, but can't really bank on that, you know, for a deep playoff stage. Then it'd be Liquid Na'Vi, wouldn't it? So I would give that to, I'd give that Na'Vi. I think if I give that Liquid, then I am going mental. And then we've got Mao's Na'Vi final, which, fucking hell, bruv. Where does that go? I'd probably give it Na'Vi in that matchup. You know, I think that Mao's rifling core is pretty solid, but I feel like Alexi is a better caller. And then I think the big thing for me there is sort of the AWPing. But we'll see. We'll see. A lot of the Na'Vi win is predicated off of how badly these players wanted it on the Na'Vi side, like the Na'Vi major win, I mean. How badly they wanted it, the crowd effect, stuff like that. Pro League is kind of different gravy because you've got like 100 Maltese people chilling in a room. You know what I mean? So it is a very, very different energy. It feels more enclosed. It feels more player versus player rather than the crowd being like a wall between you. Yeah, so I think that could get a bit interesting. And I am in that sense, obviously, in the group stage, they brought everyone very, very close for the group games. Is that going to be something similar to playoffs? Are they going to have them across from each other in the playoffs? Because that's something that we've
I
lost
think
recently,
so.
you know? We have, like, the team, like Team A, then Team B, and they're sort of staring out into the crowd, whereas in the past, they used to, you know, face each other
Look
quite
at
a
each other.
bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Which in those
I
big
prefer that as
moments
well.
makes such a difference. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it'd be cool. I think it'd be cool if they can bring that in. But yeah,
Yeah.
that's me, man. I guess I'm giving Pro League to Navi the way that it's gone
Okay.
down there.
I'm giving it to FaZe. So we'll see. We'll see how things pan out. I guess we'll finish off with a bit of fantasy.
Yes.
The fantasy.
Yeah,
Since you just went, I'll start with mine.
that's fine. Yeah.
So my method to the madness here is if I think FaZe are winning, I got Frozen for exactly that reason. Multi-fragger. This guy's, has been farming for these guys for a long time since he joined in. He's looked great. I don't think it's too much of a question mark. Stare for me has looked so solid on Astralis. I think whenever they win, he normally puts up some monstrous numbers. Even when they lose, he's normally doing okay as well. So for me, Stare felt like quite a solid pick. I was actually quite surprised how cheap he was. I thought he might have even climbed up into the golds.
Yeah.
Because of recent performances, but it looks like he hasn't. So no complaints from me there. Also, him being a little bit cheaper allowed me to also get Rain as well. Again, I'm very much banking on the FaZe supremacy here. So for the Rain pickup, that felt pretty secure. This guy is just consistent as ever, right? I mean, he just doesn't really ever take massive dips in performances. And when he does, it's normally not the worst thing in the world. Like somebody else picks up the slack. Especially with Rob's looking a little bit looser at the moment in terms of his consistency. I think this is for me where Rain, especially on CT side, can do a lot of the best work out of him. So I'm going Rain. And then Shuhei was because I think that side of the bracket, I think Miles are the best. The only issue that I was thinking about now is that I don't know, since we're not really fantasy goers by all that much, we
Sure.
do it in a loose term. I don't know how it works with the fact that they're only playing they're playing less games. You know what I mean? I don't know if is the play to get people who are going to win but play more games. So like
Maybe.
for example, like a FaZe, they've got technically 2 more games on Miles. Or then do you get points because you're already guaranteed? I don't know how it works. I'm not really a fantasy buff, so I'm not really going to understand unless somebody does tell me. So not too sure. But I went him leader anyway because I think they should make the finals. And then I went for the cheapest person I could to facilitate investing into Rain, which was Nafany, and I put him on noob because I actually don't hate Nafany the way people did, but in his team he doesn't really get a lot of kills normally. And he's a bit
Sounds
of a
like a
bottom fragger
roundabout
at
way
times.
to say you're a hater, to be honest. But
I'm not a hater, but I'm not looking at him to get the numbers on
sure,
I think
sure. I don't
Betboom,
think anyone is. So
yeah. And
cool.
technically, I again don't know how it works, but if they lose and get eliminated, I know you get ×2 team rolls, but then he's lost. So is he ×2 noob, which then means more points? I don't know. But that's where I'm going with this. Pretty simple, very heavy on FaZe. And then, if Astralis do make it, obviously points there for Stare. Mouse should have no problems on their side of the bracket, I'd assume. So that's my general roundabout thinking here. And if FaZe win, they should get a lot of points.
Okay. There you go. Nice.
There you go.
Cool. I will go on to mine then.
Yeah.
Just let me do a little bit of. Got to zoom out the way I got my camera set up so everyone can see the full team. Yeah. So I've got Mr. Frozen, up on the left.
Mm-hmm.
Just because similar to yourself, he is going a bit mental. I've got him on the attacker role. Could have gone multi-fragger. I think it's just sort of a percentage thing, which one has bigger percentages for me. But,
Sure.
Obviously on that T side, they have him more so in the pack doing the damage. So, yeah, Frozen seems to be a relatively popular rifle pickup. Then I got Wonderful coming in for Na'Vi. Now, obviously, I've just given you a pretty deep. I like Na'Vi.
Yeah.
I like the way they look. I hope that they go in deep. I got him as the IGL because I think that it's leader because they get more points if they win. No,
If they win, yeah.
Yeah. So that gets triggered a lot by this guy. Apparently, Na'Vi do some winning, so they are going to make a deep run, in my opinion. so on and so on. So it kind of works out quite nicely. Then I got Shuhei, the IGL for Mouse on the noob role, get a bit of an actual IGL in there. Mouse, I think, are also going to go pretty deep, so you get the points there, but he's not all that expensive. Then I got Liaz out from FlyQuest. That's more of a money roll, to be honest, especially with me here getting 2 golds in the mixture.
Sure.
Still, I think FlyQuest, you know, they're going to win a game. They'll get a little deep, so I should get some points out of him, hopefully. On the defender role, again, it was kind of a percentage trigger, if nothing else. Seems to do well on the CT side. And then Pizinho out for the Mongols. I had to get one of the Mongols boys in there.
Fair
I'm quietly hoping they will pull off an upset somewhere. Maybe they make like a deep run. I'd love to see them in the quarters. I think if they can hit quarters, that would be so cool, to be honest. So yeah, it felt pretty good. And again, maybe down to the fact that I was running a little bit low on the funds, but ultimately, yeah, that's my team. You know, we're doing a bit of fantasy, similar to yourself. I don't get the huge brain in there. I'm not min-maxing everything, but I go with some players that I like and some players that I think will make it deep. If that crosses over, then we're winning. You know,
it's vibes, man. It's all about vibes. It's all about vibes. That'll conclude things, though. Unless you got anything to add, we've got playoffs starting tomorrow.
Yep.
We'll be on Wednesday. So whenever you're watching this, whether you're watching this on Tuesday or whatnot, tune in Wednesday. We'll be on the B stream. Hopefully, should have some good games. We don't know exactly which games we'll be having yet, but you can probably kind of figure it out.
Because
yeah,
all of round of 16 is getting done on the first day, and then you know it's not like the group. So we're on round of 12, which is quite nice. We've got a few of those.
Kind of look at it now.
Stronger teams.
So probably, I'm looking at it. So first game, it's either, this is Wednesday, so it's either VP or Gamer Legion versus the Mongols or Big G2 versus 3D Max. Both not bad games. So we've got one of those two. I'm going to assume probably VP Mongols.
I don't know. I reckon they might want the Mongols on the mainstream for the good
maybe.
times.
And even still, G2 3D Max. Not going to hate that. That's 2 French orgs battling out, so we take that. And then second game, FlyQuest Liquid, I think is probably what we'll get because on the A stream, they're FaZe and RV. Fair enough. Yeah. I don't think we'll get that one. Yeah. But FlyQuest Liquid, again, should not be a bad game. So, all in all, not going to complain with that at all. We'll absolutely take it. Should be some good games in Counter-Strike. We don't know 100%, but make sure to check out on the Twitters and all of the rest. But until next time, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure. Like, subscribe, all of that good shit. I don't know. And until next time, Scribs links, you know where they are. Go and check him out. Go and check out his video. Until next time, we'll see you when we see you in a bit.